My name is Hadley and I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia in a family that looked like it had stepped straight out of a glossy magazine. On the outside we had it all: big house, luxury cars, and a chain of boutique hotels that made everyone think we were living the American dream. But inside it was different. My parents always had a favorite, and it wasn't me. My younger brother, Lucas, was handed everything: private schools, shiny SUVs, even a penthouse apartment, despite barely working a day in his life. I was the one told to figure it out. I fought for every scrap I got, working 2 jobs through college, graduating with honors in finance, and clawing my way into a career as a financial planner. I thought if I proved myself they'd finally see me. But no matter how many late nights I pulled or how many deals I closed, I remained invisible. The only person who ever truly saw me was my grandfather. He had built our family's wealth as a sharp investment banker and smart real estate investor. Fair and kind, he never played favorites. He even set up a $5 million trust fund, meant to be split equally between me and Lucas. Then one morning everything changed. I was packing for a big business trip to Chicago, my chance to pitch to a major client, when my phone rang. It was my mom, her voice shaky. "Hadley, honey, it's your grandfather," she said, barely holding it together. "He's had a bad fall. We need you here." My heart dropped. He was my rock, the one who always believed in me. Without hesitation I canceled my flight and rushed to his Buckhead home, my stomach in knots. But when I walked through the door I froze. There he was, sitting in his leather armchair, newspaper in hand, looking perfectly healthy. No bruises, no bandages. Just coffee. "Hadley, what are you doing here?" he asked, setting down the paper. "Mom called, she said you'd fallen. That you were hurt." His face darkened. "She told you that?" He rubbed his temples and sighed, heavy with years of secrets. "She asked me to lie, Hadley. Said it would keep things peaceful, if you stayed behind." I told her no. My knees went weak. My own mother had fabricated his illness. But why? Then my phone buzzed. I pulled it out and opened Instagram. My chest tightened as I stared at a photo. My entire family on a white sand beach in the Bahamas. Everyone was there: my parents, Lucas, my aunts, uncles, cousins. All smiles, cocktails in hand. Everyone except me. Lucas's smug caption read, "Nothing beats family time in paradise." The betrayal cut deep. They had lied to keep me away. They thought I'd accept it like always. But this time they were wrong. That night I couldn't sleep. I sat in my grandfather's living room, scrolling through their vacation photos, my hands trembling with anger. My grandfather sat beside me, his face etched with worry. "Hadley," he said steadily, "there's something you need to know." From his desk he pulled out a thick folder. Inside were bank statements, trust fund reports, legal documents, proof that my parents had been siphoning my inheritance for years. "They were supposed to split the trust fund between you and Lucas," he explained. "But they took your share, bit by bit, for him. His schools, his cars, even his failed startups. Almost all of it is gone." I could barely breathe. My money. My future. Stolen. "And there's more," he added grimly. "They're planning to hand the hotel chain to Lucas. The paperwork is already in motion." It felt like the floor had collapsed beneath me. Every sacrifice I'd made, every client won, every sleepless night, meant nothing to them. They had planned to erase me all along. My grandfather squeezed my hand. "You don't have to let this happen. You're stronger than they think." That spark of determination lit inside me. I was done being their doormat. I called Aunt Julia, the one relative who had always had my back. A corporate attorney who'd left the family business years ago over my parents' shady dealings. Julia didn't mince words. After flipping through the folder she looked me in the eye. "This is fraud, Hadley. And if they're moving money offshore, they're planning to disappear. Probably to the Caribbean. But we can stop them." For the first time I wasn't scared. I was ready. "What's our first move?" I asked. Her answer was sharp. "We hit them where it hurts. Their reputation." The next morning I sat with Julia and my grandfather, phone in hand, staring at Lucas's latest post. Him on a yacht, drink in hand, captioned "Living the Dream with Family." My stomach twisted, but my hands were steady as I typed. That dream was built on my stolen future. Funny how my parents lied about my grandfather's health to keep me from our family vacation. Funnier still how they drained my $5 million trust fund and handed Harris Hotels, meant for both me and Lucas, entirely to him. This time the world would finally see the truth. They thought I'd never find out. I hit post and held my breath. Within minutes, the notifications exploded. Likes, comments, shares. Friends, distant cousins, even my parents' business partners flooded the thread with questions. Is this true? What's going on with Harris Hotels? The truth was out and it spread like wildfire. My phone rang almost immediately. Lucas's name flashed on the screen. Hadley, what the hell? He hissed, his voice low like he was hiding. Take that post down. You're making Mom and Dad look awful. I let the silence stretch, letting him squirm. Awful. My voice was calm but sharp. They lied to me, Lucas. They stole my money, my future. And you went along with it. You don't get it, it's complicated. No, I snapped. It's simple. You took what was mine. Next came my mother. Her voice was ice cold. Hadley, delete that post. You're embarrassing us. I laughed, bitter raw. Embarrassing you? You faked grandfather's injury, gave Lucas my inheritance and planned to hand him the business. You embarrassed yourself. She huffed. We did what was best for the family. Lucas was ready for that money, not you. Her words stung, but I was done letting them hurt me. You're wrong, I said flatly. And soon enough you'll see just how wrong. By evening the fallout was unstoppable. Reporters called, digging into Harris Hotels' finances. Employees, long silenced, came forward with stories of unpaid wages and shady deals. My grandfather called old business contacts and investors began pulling back, spooked by the scandal. Meanwhile, Aunt Julia and I filed legal papers to freeze the hotel chain's transfer to Lucas. The paperwork wasn't finalized, but it was close, too close. If we proved fraud, we could stop it. That night, my grandfather handed me one final document, his eyes steady. This is the original contract I signed with your dad, he said. The contract gave my father control of Harris Hotels, but it contained a clause. My heart raced as I read it. If dishonesty or misconduct was proven, control could be revoked. This is our ace, grandfather said quietly. I looked up, fire in my chest. We've got them. Julia nodded, her smile fierce. Let's finish this. The next morning, I walked into Harris Hotel's downtown office with the contract tucked under my arm. My heart pounded, but my steps were steady. For years, I had been the invisible daughter. Not anymore. I pushed open the door to my dad's corner office. He and my mom were frantically feeding papers into a shredder. They froze when they saw me. You don't belong here, Hadley, my dad snapped, his face crimson. I held up the contract, my voice calm. Actually, I do. His eyes narrowed, but I saw fear flicker. You missed something in this contract, Dad. The clause that says if you're caught lying or stealing, you lose everything. He snatched the paper, scanning it, his jaw tightening with every line. My mom gripped the desk, pale. Hadley, let's talk about this, she stammered. Talk? I raised an eyebrow. Where was the talking when you gave Lucas my trust fund? When you planned to hand him the business? Just then Lucas burst in, red-faced and panting. You're destroying everything, Hadley. Why can't you just let it go? I turned to him, voice steady. Let it go. You lived off my money, Lucas. You stole my future and you didn't even blink. You're just bitter, he spat. I stepped closer, locking eyes with him. Bitter? Well, I'm done letting you all walk over me. The office door swung open again. 2 federal agents stepped inside, followed by Aunt Julia and my grandfather. My dad's face drained of color. What is this? He shouted. One agent, a tall woman in a sharp suit, spoke firmly. Mr. Harris, we have evidence of financial fraud and offshore transfers. You and your wife are under arrest. My mom gasped, clutching my dad's arm. Do something, she hissed. But he was frozen, the contract limp in his hand. I pulled out another folder. Bank records, trust fund statements, proof of every dollar they'd stolen. This, I said, my voice unwavering, shows you took $5 million that was mine. My dad's eyes burned with rage. You think you've won? He spat. I met his glare, unflinching. I'm not trying to win. I'm taking back what's mine. Lucas's mouth opened, then closed. For once he had nothing to say. As the agents cuffed my parents, I felt the weight lift. For the first time, I wasn't the overlooked daughter. I was the one in control. The weeks that followed changed everything. The court case was swift. Aunt Julia presented the evidence like a master, laying bare every stolen dollar. The judge ruled the transfer of Harris Hotels fraudulent, null and void. My parents' attempt to rewrite our family's legacy collapsed. The court awarded me full ownership of Harris Hotels. The business they tried to steal was mine. My parents faced prison. Lucas, stripped of their money and influence, was left scrambling. He sent me a weak apology text hoping to worm his way back. I didn't respond. Some betrayals cut too deep. My grandfather fought for the recovery of my trust fund, but most of the $5 million was gone. Still, the hotels were worth far more, not just in money but in meaning. A chance to rebuild something honest. Taking over wasn't easy. My dad had left a trail of shady deals, unpaid staff, and a toxic culture. But I got to work. I paid back wages, set up a scholarship fund for employees' kids, and opened the books for transparency. Slowly, trust returned. The hotels began to feel like more than a business, they felt like family. One evening, I sat with my grandfather on the rooftop of our flagship hotel, the Atlanta skyline sparkling below. He sipped his coffee, a quiet smile on his face. "You know," he said softly, "I always knew you had it in you." I tilted my head. "Had what?" He leaned back, eyes warm. "The strength to turn their lies into your truth." I laughed gently, the weight of years finally lifting. He was right. They had tried to break me, to erase me, but all they did was reveal what I was capable of. I wasn't just surviving their betrayal. I was thriving. And to everyone who's followed this story, thank you. You've walked with me through the hurt, the fight, and the moment I took my life back. If this spoke to you, if you felt betrayal or the fire of fighting back, join me. Every story I share is about facing the truth, reclaiming what's yours, and building something better. Keep carving your own path. And I'll see you at the top.